All right, it is 9 o'clock. I want to value your time. If folks come in later, that is totally okay, but I want to make sure that we are getting as much done as we can today around theme and Act 1. So I just put in the check-in question in the chat. There are 13 of us in here right now. There should be 13 responses in the chat. The check-in question is, what is the difference between a thematic topic and a thematic statement? Remember, if you want credit for attending a Google Meet, you must respond to the questions posed in the chat. Just because you show up here does not mean you're going to get credit. So please make sure you are answering the check-in question in the chat. Celise, I see your answer. Thank you. We're going to take 4 minutes for this check-in question. Thank you, Jaylene. I see you, Carter. Anna, I just put the question in again, so you should be able to see it. Good morning, Layla. Good morning, Desiree. Jaden, do you want to define constituting for me because you used it in your response? All right, take 3 more minutes. Jaden, that's not the definition of constituting. Make sure you know the words that you're using when you respond. I'm totally okay with people using the internet to support you. Make sure you know what you're using, though. Jaden, I don't mean to put you on blast. Other people do this too. We're going to take 2 more minutes. For those of you just coming in, I'm putting the check-in question again. I've seen lots of responses. You need to be answering the check-in question. Remember, if you are in this chat, you need to be responding via the chat feature. Otherwise, you won't be marked here. If you're just sitting and watching, that is not active participation and therefore does not earn attendance. Make sure that you are answering the questions posed in the chat. Take 1 more minute to answer the check-in question. All right, if you have not sent in your response, if you're still typing, send what you have so you get credit for it. I am going to ask a clarifying question because I'm seeing this language show up a lot. So many students have explained that a thematic statement is something that is like a summary or sums up the entire text. How is a theme different from a summary? Those things are not the same thing. What is the difference between a theme and a summary? I'm only going to put 3 minutes on the clock for this question. What is the difference between a theme and a summary? If you have not answered the first question, move on to answering this second question, please. Okay, we're going to pause here because the students who are responding are right on. So I want to give the opportunity for a student to explain this difference for folks. Jasmine, do you mind going off of mute and explaining your response to this question? What's the difference between a theme and a summary?
A summary is like what the text is about, and a theme is what was learned.
Awesome. Thank you, Jasmine. So specifically, a theme has to be a lesson learned or an idea about the world that is learned, and it must be universal. So a theme must be, or a thematic statement to be more specific, must be one. It must be something that is learned. And two, it must be universal. Justin Flores, can you come off of mute? What do I mean by universal? Justin Flores, are you able to come off of mute? All right, Justin, type it out for us. Asia, while Justin is typing it out, can you unmute and explain, please? What does it mean to be universal?
What it means to be universal is like not just containing one, like that is not for only one person, is worldwide.
Exactly. Thank you, Asia. It's nice to hear your voice. I haven't heard your voice in so long. Exactly. So when we're thinking about universality or making something universal, there are words that we cannot use. What words are not universal? Just 2 minutes on the clock. Just put in some words that are not universal. I see I, me, you, myself, them, we, us. First person words. Good catch all, Anthony. Good. So then let me pose the question. Ooh, Carter, you're right. She works, right? You cannot use she. What are words that are universal? What words are universal? Everyone, people, worldwide. Good. There's one other big one that I'm thinking of. There's everyone, there's people, community might work. Not us, Anthony. Anthony that doesn't work. Worldwide. There's also global might work. There's also individuals, right? Or society. Aiden, we doesn't work because we is specifically talking about me and someone else, which means that it's not universal. A team, Celeste, that might work depending on your sentence, but not necessarily. Generations is a specific group. Shailin, a group is not universal. All right, let's pause. Pause in the chat, please. Thank you. So to sum up, universal words, everyone, people, individuals, community, society, right? Those are the big five. There are other words that you can use depending on how you phrase it, but if all else fails, universal words are everyone, individuals, society, people, and community. So when you are writing thematic statements, make sure you are using these words instead of I, we, me, you, us, right? Popularity wouldn't work. A populace might. Populace might work. So, sorry, Edward, I totally spelled your name wrong. So then I want to pause. I'm going to share my screen, and I want to just briefly talk about and have a discussion about the question that was in our check-in yesterday. So the question asks, what is a thematic statement of Pygmalion in Act 1? Write a short response with at least 2 pieces of evidence from Act 1 and sufficient reasoning. Only students who practice the quote sandwich have an opportunity to earn full credit. I'm going to go over the quote sandwich at the end of today's meet. For those of you who are still struggling with quote sandwich, make sure you stick around. I want to focus on this question, and I'm going to copy it and paste it into our chat. What is the theme statement of Pygmalion? So I want to talk about this here because I saw a lot of variety. So now that we've reminded ourselves how we phrase thematic statements, I want to ask this question here. What is a thematic statement of Pygmalion in Act 1? You got 3 minutes. You're just writing one thematic statement and put it in here, and then we can share out some and we can talk about what strong evidence supports them. Go ahead. Lena, the question asks for a thematic statement, not a thematic word or phrase. Although, Lena, that is a thematic topic, it is not a thematic statement. Nate, can you go off of mute and explain your answer? I'm not sure I'm understanding, and I want to be able to give effective feedback. Yeah, go ahead, Nate.
I put that because I thought the thematic statement was like basically from the current actions that a person did to get their name in that certain situation in like the current state they're at.
So are you talking about the way that the author describes the people with their names in Act 1? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so awesome. Good clarifier, Nate. Thank you. So for a lot of students did this. What Nate is doing is he's combining theme with author's purpose. We want to make sure we keep those separate. So when we're thinking about theme, we're thinking about the story. When we're thinking about author's purpose, we're thinking about how the author tells the story. So although Nate is right, the author's purpose around describing the characters by what they do helps to form identity. It isn't exactly theme. So Nate, if you want to try and write a thematic statement based on some others that are in the chat, I can totally give feedback on that. But that is a very common misconception. Thank you for bringing that up and taking a risk. Joseph, can you finish your thematic statement? It's only a part of a sentence right now, and I want to know where you're going.
Miss Hurley?
Yes, what's up?
I thought we were doing a just a regular example of it, so I fixed it.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Brianna.
You're welcome.
Jalissa, I'm finding yours right now. Okay, so Jalissa, you write individuals get an identity of how different each other are. That phrasing is pretty confusing. Can you unmute and explain a little bit so I can help figure it out?
I meant individuals get identified of.
Ah, okay. So individuals are identified by how, by what?
Of how like I'm not put can't find my thing. Of like how like their actions are.
Ah, okay. So individuals are identified by how they interact with each other. Do you see how that's clearer?
Yeah.
Okay. So Brianna, your clarification is much clearer in the thematic topic. It isn't universal because you use the word you. Can you rephrase that one more time without using the word you in your thematic statement?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So some of you are still going to be writing thematic statements in the chat. That's totally fine. I want to take this moment to clarify quote sandwiches for people who are struggling with quote sandwiches. So I'm going to bring up this image and I'm going to share my screen. If you're still writing thematic statements, please continue doing so. I will give feedback as I can get to it. I'm going to share my screen for a moment though. And we've got 9 minutes until social studies. So I'm going to be working for another 5. That way you've got 4 minutes to get there. So I'm going to go into here. All right, a quote sandwich. So just a reminder, the quote sandwich does not replace your entire short response. The quote sandwich goes after the claim. So it goes, you write your claim, and then instead of putting just evidence and reasoning, you just add this introducing sentence. So it would go, claim goes right up here. Then you introduce the quote. Then you write the quote, and then you analyze the quote. So I'm going to write this in the meat so that we don't get lost with it. So short response contents. 1, claim. 2, quote sandwich, introduction of quote. 3, quote. 4, analysis of quote. So as you can see, all we're doing is adding a sentence into our normal short response. And the reason why we're doing this is because when you write a claim and then you just stick a quote in there, it feels very jumpy. There's no transition. So what this introduce the quote sentence does is it just smooths the transition between your claim into your quote. It makes the writing sound more sophisticated and more well-rounded. That way, your claim is more convincing. So I'm going to stop sharing there. I'm going to allow people to answer questions. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to look at, so Kazi, how someone is born and raised determines that future. Kazi, that's a strong claim. The type of language. Yes, Brianna, much stronger. Good revision. So I'm going to write in here, if you have any questions regarding theme or quote sandwiches, stick around or ask them here. Ask them now. If you don't have any questions about theme or quote sandwiches, then you don't need to stay in here. Bye, Jaylene. If you have a question, I want to make sure that I'm giving the time. Sure, Aiden, you can ask at the end. Bye, Liz Mary. Bye, Jay. Bye, Celise. Bye, Joseph. Bye, Kazi. Adios, Isis. Bye, Shailin. Bye, Christine. Bye, Edward. Thank you, Edward. You too. Hi, Isabella. How are you? So, Isabella, we were talking about theme and quote sandwiches. Do you have any questions about either of those? Okay, well then you should head to social studies. Make sure you get your work done for today.
Oh yeah, khaki hats.
What is the number 3 for? Bye, Isabella. Is it a thing that I should know that I don't know?
No. Chance the Rapper. Yeah. Thanks, Aiden.
Okay, did he have other hats that were different numbers?
Nope. Always 3.
Is it? Okay. In his music video, is it a red 3 though? Like a red hat?
Yeah.
Okay. That was the difference. Okay. Carter, Glariel, Justin, Karen, Abigail, Andrew. Bye, Justin.
Bye, Justin.
Get on out of here. Okay, Carter, unmute. What's up?
So in the quote sandwich, is it like just like one piece of evidence? Like so like we introduce like the quote, then we write the quote, then we like make a close like then we write a conclusion for the quote.
So just like a short response where we would put quote and then analysis, now you're going to do quote sandwich and then quote sandwich in order to have two pieces of evidence.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, Karen, Andrew, Glariel. I don't know that Glariel's here. Yeah, I know you did. Aiden, that's why I'm not saying your name. Can you ask
That's
it?
not great, and she forgot about you.
I did not.
She
Rude.
forgot about you.
Andrew, are you in here, my dear?
Nope.
All right, bye. I'm kicking you out then. All right, Aiden, unmute.
So you know how you put for like when you were listing the quote sandwich in order, you put
Yep.
hold on, we'll try to find it. You put quote sandwich introduction of quote and then quote.
Correct.
So we put two quotes, or do we describe our quote first and then we put a quote?
So in the same, I'm going to share that screen with you again. So in the same way that this image shows, you're going to introduce the quote, then you're going to write the quote, and then you analyze the quote. So this step is the only new step. And it's just including the who and the when of the quote.
Also, we just, for introducing the quote, we just describe like when the quote comes in the text.
Yep, exactly. It's just showing that you are understanding where it's coming from in the text. That's all.
Oh.
It's just to make it a little bit smoother.
Okay. Bye, Mr. McKay. Bye, Miss Hurley.
Take care, Aiden. That was a good question, sir. I'm glad you asked it.
Okay, bye.
How are you?
I'm okay. I didn't sleep well, but it happens. Hold on. Now I have to cut that out of, ugh.
Yes.